Hi, this game is between player named Andor's Lilienthal and with the white pieces and Rashid Nezhmetdinov with the black pieces. Uh, Nezhmetdinov is like, you know, I would say like, one of those legendary figures in chess history. He was only at IM, and I don't mean that disparagingly, but he never, attained the, highest ranks of chess, but he was a feared and dangerous attacking player, and actually, interestingly enough, had a plus score against Mikhail Tal, and I think that's kind of where his fame lies in the fact that he had that plus score against one of the great players of all time, former world champion, and a feared tactician. Um, and Nezhmetdinov was known for his aggressive style of play, and I want to share that with you in this game. All right, this game took place in Baku, and this is the Russian Championship semifinals, Baku, in 1951. So Lilienthal had white, Nezhmetdinov had black. So d4, knight f6, c4, d6, knight c3, e5, and we see this old Indian. Knight f3 is played. D takes, e5 really does not give white, a substantial advantage. So most players will play knight takes f3. Excuse me, knight takes f3, knight f3 to maintain the tension in the position. Knight f3, knight bd7, g3, e takes d4, knight takes d4. Again, uh, black does not have to take. Black can play g6 here, as Boleslavsky did against Bronstein in their 1950 match. Bishop e7 is playable. There's a lot of moves, c6. But for an aggressive player, he wants to open the position. This has its downside, of course, which is that he relinquishes, a portion of the center there. Now he has no influence on the d4 square, um, and is given a little bit more space to white. Also, white has a nice potential outpost on d5, and he can concentrate his forces on the d file. And also, um, on the positive side, though, he has black has an open e file to work down e5 for his pieces, and also c5 after eliminating white's d4 pawn. So it's kind of like a give and take thing, and it depends on what type of position you like. G6, bishop g2, castles. Excuse me, bishop g7, castles, castles, and here white is playing very positionally. Plays b3, but notice the situation with the diagonal. So black's bishop is very strong here, and white simply desires to play in a ready type fashion, very solid positionally, and just slowly exploit his space advantage and build up a good position. And here with b3, he's going to put his bishop on b2 to counteract counteract the black bishop. Knight c5, and this is a provocative move in that black just played b3 to strengthen c4 and solidify his position. So now playing knight c5 here, he provokes white into playing b4, but then at the same time weakening the complex of squares on the queen side. And he wanted to play b4 before black could play like rook e8, for instance, and then be able to bring that knight into e4 when attacked, right? And also before black could establish the knight on c5 any further, also with a move like a5. For example, um, queen c2, move like rook e8, for instance, and then d4. And you got some tactics prevailing because now you got the knight on d4 hanging. Okay, so Lilienthal hits that knight right away. b4, the knight jumps back to e6. Now, knight b3 is played. Why is this? Because black has a cramped position. So white does not want to help black alleviate his cramped position, so he avoids the trade of pieces. So he just jumps the knight back. Notice if he did a move like knight takes, like a rookie move, knight takes here, you just help the development of black. Right? Lessens the cramped nature of the position and develops a piece with tempo here. So experienced master like Lilienthal is not going for that. He plays knight b3 and now knight d7, just unleashing this bishop on this diagonal. No problem for white. He just plays bishop b2, knight e5. And again, aggressive player like Nezhmetdinov is actively pursuing some type of initiative in position. So here he attacks the c pawn. Remember, the b pawn was here, but now after that provocative sequence of moves, beginning with knight c5, provoking b4, now this pawn comes under scrutiny. How do you defend it? Okay, knight a5. So the pawn is defended, but look where the knight ends up. So the knight ends up on the rim, which is not good all the time. The benefit though here is with this strong bishop here on g2, this pawn is being attacked also. Nezhmetdinov plays knight to d4. Okay. And now, if this move happens, knight takes b7, then just bishop takes b7, bishop takes b7, rook b8, or knight takes c4. It's possible. Maybe that first. Excuse me. Bishop c1 and then rook b8. Okay. So that's the idea with that. So instead of knight takes b7 here, knight a4 is played, unleashing an attack. So white sees what's going on as it's trying to counterattack black's attempt at activity here. So now we see the bishop here and the queen on this knight at d4. Now this is a critical moment in the game because black's entire concept is being questioned here. So if black just makes a defensive move like I don't know, knight e6 or something like that, it kind of basically is admitting to his error here. So I don't know, knight, let's say knight e6, or let's say knight d6, dc6, takes, and after these moves, a normal sequence of moves, white will have this a slight but nagging advantage. Knight d7, and the idea here is, just want to show you, after the trade of queens, this space advantage on the queen side is good for white, and this pressure along this diagonal. It's very difficult for white to develop, and any kind of pawn, for black to develop his pieces over here on the queen side, and then any kind of pawn moves on the queen side would prove detrimental to the structure. So after knight takes f6, white would just hit with a move like c5, for example, right? Threatening to create this isolated pawn here, and then say, for example, d takes, this knight comes back, right? It's just a lot of pressure on the position. Right, now this rook goes here to harass this, and say rook e8, e3, and white has a lot of, nagging chances here, to probe and weaken this position. So Nezhmetdinov, being an attacking player and assessing the position correctly, said there's no way I can go into a position, like that. Another option, of course, is if c6, then bishop takes d4. In this line also, instead of knight takes f6, right? Instead of knight taking with f6, because I showed you how white played c5, how about king takes f6? And now c5 is not an option. But in this line, then white just plays knight c3. Right, just returns the knight back, because now he has this threat right here, which is pretty brutal. Right, with this threat to take here. So Nezhmetdinov played c5, right? Now black structure is looking shaky, and he's hoping for some dynamic compensation here. Now white has to, realize this is the moment of truth in the position and play the correct moves. Now here, white can get away with knight takes b7. The bishop takes b7, bishop takes b7, rook b8 is a powerful move here that Nezhmetdinov probably overlooked, because if he takes here with the rook now, then bishop takes d4, as this pawn undermines the protection here. So d takes c5, and now the bishop hops back to a very powerful square. d5, rook e8, rook b1, queen a5, and then e3, and then white refutes black's idea finally. Okay, but instead he played the move a3, just kind of propping up the support for the b4 pawn. This gave Nezhmetdinov enough time, and he continued his attack with bishop g4. Now we see that happening, and Lilienthal gives up his bishop pair. Of course, not queen takes d4, because knight f3 check. h3, bishop e6, and notice the constant attacking themes. Now this pawn is threatened, so even in retreat, Nezhmetdinov is constantly creating some type of issues. So c5 is played, and b5. So he attacks his knight right here, willing to give up the rook. So c takes, a takes, and bishop takes a8, queen takes a8, and he just sacrifices the exchange here. But look at the compensation. Now he has this open diagonal. He has the only light square bishop on the board, and of course he plans to deliver checkmate like that. And he's gained time. He's attacking this knight here. So knight takes b6 and queen a6. So now time is gained on this knight. The knight returns to a4, and notice how the knights have been badly placed the entire game. Bishop takes a3, and now Lilienthal decides he'll give up the exchange. He doesn't even try to save the rook on f1, but Nezhmetdinov plays a real strong move, and he just continues to open lines in the position. He plays d3 here, and the immediate threat is just d takes e2. So he takes d3, and now, and notice there's a clearance clearance sacrifice. So he plays that, and you'll see what it's clearing in a second. But notice now the d4 square is cleared. He takes d3, queen a8, threatening, the obvious checkmate. And then after the obvious defense, f3, then brilliant move, knight g4. Of course, the defense of g4 is just an illusion because it will be made on g2. And there's this other threat of knight coming here to e6, e3. But the real killer is this threat of bishop d4 check. And this is what that clearance sacrifice was about earlier. d3, and then allowing this bishop to be powerful. So he takes d3, queen a8, f3, and knight g4. So a very very powerful move. If queen, trying to think of something. See, if the rook tries to come over, then bishop d4, king h1, then you have, this kind of stuff. Trying to think of some other kind of, if just say a move like queen d2, you can still check here, but then you could just take the rook. And then let's say after rook takes here, and after that, again, this pin is still on, so you can just maybe do a move like queen d5 with the idea of coming here. So anyway, that was a very very dynamically played game by Nezhmetdinov. He took some chances there to create those opportunities. His attack wasn't completely sound, but it was basically White had to find the one move in the position, right, to refute it, and he didn't find it. Instead of playing a3, he had to take on b7, and he didn't find that, and then it was a wrap. So I just wanted to show you that game. It's a rare game because usually when people start talking about Nezhmetdinov, they show game by against his game against Paul Gajewski, again with the black pieces in the King's Indian defense, which was a brilliant game. But this is one of those rare games that you see from. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you soon.